So, hi. Hi. We're running a little slow, but that's part of the course, maybe. I hadn't looked at my description for a while, but when I read it, I've had a busy schedule, so when I read it to get ready, it's like, oh, I can't believe I wrote that. This is just a 3-hour presentation, well, a little less now. And how can I possibly do that in that length of time? It's a kind of, but then, as usual, it'll happen. So what that means actually is I need all your participation to team up to bring about whatever understanding you're looking for today. So whatever you came here for, you have to advocate for yourself. Other than expecting me to completely solve all the problems in your life and take responsibility for all the people who have ever mistreated you. I can't do that one. Aren't you afraid of getting stepped on?
Well, I want to see. Is that okay?
Oh, right, that came up. So I'll just follow the script in the description. Several of you have been through the archetypal psychology of the Mandala class here. Well, there's a lot of people not raising their hands, but I didn't really ask for that.
Oh, someone else said, whatever.
But I can spot it around. But it's I wanted to show a few of the final mandalas of that course, just to give us a sense of our relationship to imagery and images and symbols and coding. In that course, we have a process we do all the way through, which is doing a lot of drawings, and the intention is to create a conversation with your unconscious to begin to sort out the images that have been acquired and assimilated and made unconscious, the ones that enhance and are congruent with your soul, your essence, your purpose in life, and sort it out from those that are designed to stop you from that and distract you from that and get you to identify with somebody you're not. So we use this mandala process to sort that out. It's a reflective process. In other words, it becomes a metaphor for life. Life's the mirror back. So everything that's going on is really a mirror of what's in your unconscious. You have to be careful of that, because if you're too impressed with your ego, you'll move into shame and blame too quickly. But if you're impressed with yourself as a soul that has this higher consciousness, then it's an opportunity, because I have control over something. I can change how I am internally, and that changes how the universe is going to reflect back to me. So the deeper you go, the more power you have. But you have to give up a lot of stuff like addictions and blaming others and revenge and fear even. That's a tough one to get to that place. And so that's the context of this. So I'll just show a few of these. And these are, so what it's like I don't know, purifying process you go through. When we get this final mandala, it is an optimum integration of the person's traits, powers, strengths, purposes in a form that lights up inside. That was the wrong one. Now, if I press this and that comes on, so I'm just going to go through it. So this is see. The soul of us is something that's it's deeper and likely misunderstood. Most of the things people call soul are an archetypal soul. In other words, the soul archetype you construct to do this lifetime. So you might look at these as soul archetypes that that person just constructed in their incarnation to actualize and fulfill themselves in this lifetime. Well, you haven't.
No, I just want to see.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm easily distracted this morning. So these are some of those, and I'll just go through them for the purpose of been imagining what it must have been like in the process of these students going through this, and imagine what it would be you going through this 10-week, 8-week purification through drawing, and using drawing to learn how the metaphor of life reflects back to you the truth about yourself. And these are the where they ended up. And we also begin to appreciate the variety of human consciousness and how each of us have a unique way of organizing our imagery within us, in ourselves, and how we construct consciousness in the context of what we're given. And I'll go into that shortly. We're given this consciousness, and then we can have this latitude to construct it so that the creator flows through us in a certain way, the spirit flows through us and reflects back, and then we create ourselves. You know, where we want to context ourselves in it. Go a little faster, so you might as well stimulate with all of them. If you see yours show up, then that's an extra treat. Carl Jung, who a lot of the course was based on, had a technique. He started a practice where he would get up each morning and he had a circle with a cross in it, and he would make a mandala. And in that process, he discovered that this was a very powerful way to dialogue with his unconscious. You know, we call it unconscious because it's unconscious. So there's a way to make it conscious. And once we can make it conscious, we can talk to that deep level of ourselves. All the cultural stuff we absorb is in there, and all the stuff we make up about ourselves and judge ourselves for goes into that unconscious, and then starts advocating for itself. And until we change our understanding, it continues to do so. Which gives us a way to talk to that. I think that's the last thing. But it stops, so. Did you see that one before?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, that was inspiring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And hopefully brings forward a little bit of awe and appreciation about yourself. Because this, so a lot of our life is about becoming more conscious, waking up to ourselves. That takes courage, because you have to look at things that you don't want to see, but then you get to sort them out and keep what's working and keep what's not working. Um, the way I look at it, there's we each have a cosmology, and it's has either a basis of love or a basis of fear. So those get mixed up quite a bit, and I'm sure you, in your process with yourself, you had fear arise. And this isn't practical fear, like don't play in traffic, don't eat poison. You know, fears like that we'll keep. Don't jump off of high things without some kind of bungee cord or parachute, things like that. Little things like, well, I need to hide this because of what people think of me. That's a fear you might challenge because that has a lot of control. Or the in charisma, hypnotics, where a person can take over the mind of a large number of people, there's a kind of hypnotic form in the unconscious that they're not aware of, so it activates that and takes over. So we want to sort these things out. I want to do a little more in terms of the basics of how we're made as we go into this. Some of you may recognize my favorite. I started out drawing on cave walls, so I reverted back to my original. But it gives you the appreciation that those people writing on those walls had a deeper understanding than we might. It wasn't primitive at all, it was highly technical. They were exploring this dynamic of consciousness that they found themselves waking up in. So we'll start out with that, at least a happy person. So we're most familiar with our physical bodies, and we really sell them short too, because they're really a wonderful instrument for participating and sensing in life. We usually shut them way down, so that there's a lot of the avenues of information and awareness we don't recognize. Some of that comes from something uncomfortable, so we drug it, and then we cut that circuit off. See, or when pain's helpful because it says there's something that's restricted and needs to be changed. So if you ibuprofen can help, but there's also information in that pain about, especially at the emotional level, that something deeper wants to open up. Like most emotional pain is just restricted joy from some belief or judgment you made about yourself, which you coded in there, that restriction. So it's pretty basic. It's bilateral, symmetrical, so it's an energy device, positive, negative polarity, and basic car battery stuff that starts your car and lights your house, and so you start catching on right away that there's some kind of electrochemical organism here that just in itself. So you may notice that you're tensed up, but you stay on relax, and you charge up. So, you let the circuits go free so that they could, in the sea of energy there, they could charge back up, so you can pull it from that charge. So that's a simple attitude. So the next thing we need to point out here is our space. You all have the experience of somebody being in your space, you didn't want them in there, right? Or violating your boundaries. Well, that's the sense, at least we have that sensitivity. Oh, you violated my boundaries, you're in my space. Well, it's a real space. And any of you hear Doctor Who fans?
Yes.
They always do the TARDIS is bigger on the inside than the outside. Well, that's us. We're bigger on the inside than the outside. We look tiny, but we have this vast consciousness. So all the every time you decide something and create a belief, or have a traumatic experience, or have a wonderful experience, and turn it into some kind of memory, it's all in this space. It's like close at hand. So anything you've made up is close at hand. You could, if you were clairvoyant about yourself, you could grab it. In fact, if you watch somebody talk with their hands and they're talking about, well, this happened to me, they're probably touching where they stored it. See? And sometimes I'll have to do that. I'll have to stop them and touch there, and then find an access point where you're in your loving and touch that, and then watch it change. See, because there's a physics to it once you get onto this. So if you're looking for the basement or the attic or the storage you had to clean out, it's just right closest to you. And so this of course colors, it's here. So you're looking out through it. So it not only distorts what you see or clarifies what you see, but it's also what the universe reads in order to know what kind of reality to bring you. So life is always reading you and bringing what you said you are, to reinforce that. Because it's a very loving universe, and it takes care of you, so it's going to take care of who and what you think you are. It's going to help you maintain that until you decide to change it. Then okay, well, you change it. So you get that there's this larger field of energy out there. So it's not static. So there's how many of you use the term in your life heaven and earth? See, it's a natural metaphor for how you're plugged in. See, so we're a bridge. Our structure is a bridge between heaven and earth. And of course, how you plug into that's what you think about that. To a degree, like even an atheist has unconscious stuff that says, no, there's a heaven and earth. And because it has to, because it's just like this building with docks. That yeah, there's a foundation and a roof, that, and it has walls. That's what makes it a building. See, so you can't argue with that, but you can. And when you do, you set up a resistance or a separation from it, but it doesn't change that it's going on. So, but it does change how much juice is flowing through you. It does change how much of this energy is flowing through you, your attitude and your judgments. So there's a flow of energy that comes in and another one that comes up. So that's the heaven and earth. And there's a key player in here, the heart. There's a key player up there too, the pineal and the pituitary. So these are kind of gateways. So the energy flows in. It's a little bit like breathing. Like you breathe in, and you breathe out. So in a breathing practice, so you're breathing in and breathing out, but you're also aware that you're also breathing in, prana or energy or spiritual energy, whatever you want to call this, milieu of energy that we're floating in. See? So when you breathe in, you breathe the energy from above and below in your heart. You breathe out, it goes out through your body and into your space. Some of you are practicing that. It's not mass hypnosis, this is just a technique that's yours. You're not joining any political party by breathing like this. So consciously breathe. See, we do things unconsciously, and when we do them consciously, it connects all of us to it. See, so when you breathe in consciously, and also add with that the imagination, which then brings forward the connection of the energy flowing in, breathing out. Did you ever notice when you're thinking about something and you find a solution, you take a deep breath? See? Or you decide to let something go, you take a deep breath. See, that's part of this. See? Because what that does is when you breathe that way, it resets the whole system. So like when we're doing self-forgiveness work, we have somebody forgive themselves and take a deep breath because it sets it in the body. See? So we records it into the physical body because it's flowing through it. So see, it sets it in the physical body. It's like if you were totally cut off from your sensations, you wouldn't remember anything because the body would never reference point for it, it would float away. So if somebody has issues with being grounded or placed, this flow is not going to work too well. If people have issues with, God or consciousness, or it's the wrong gender, or whatever they're doing with it, this flow is not going to be so good. But then you can cut them both off really well just by being unworthy. You can shut the whole system down very fast. So it's nice. So there's this horizontal flow, which is the energy comes in, we have our stuff, it picks up the information and flows out into the environment, and then it reflects back to us the reality that we have programmed ourselves for. Its job, whatever it is to just hold it and reflect it back. So we bring it in, send it out, it reflects it back. So far, so good? Okay. So you're in charge of the software, and God's in charge of the hardware. And it's all set up on unconditional love, so you get exactly what you want. That's the good news and bad news. It means that, if it's coming your way, you had some part in it, someplace, at some time, somewhere in your existence. So you forgive yourself. Make amends. Cosmic 12-step program. Okay. How's that feel now that you opened that up a little bit? It's nice. There was something in there, but it disappeared. Any questions about this so far? Any illumination you have that I don't know about? Oh. Okay.
Yeah, Robert, I keep on seeing more bubbles, like
Oh,
relationships,
What?
like relationships.
Yeah.
And
Oh, that's the one.
interaction
Yeah,
and,
yeah. So you probably found out you're not the only one in the universe.
Exactly.
Thanks. Yeah, and they're doing their thing, see? And so, say you're so, see whatever level you're stuck, like, say you try to go up here, but somehow you decided that's not so, and you have kind of lined yourself over here and you're not in your own center. And then you meet somebody else that's not in their own center either. So what happens is the rapport forms on the limitation. See, that's how you can get into so much shit with people. Anywhere from wars to, breaking a glass and throwing a plate through the window or something. Or going, passive aggressive, going cold and then you know, putting sand in their gas tank. I still have my junior high mind. It's all right there with you. Everything you've done is just like waiting around you for reflecting back for you to resolve it. Or appreciate it, or remember it, or celebrate it. See, if you ever had a surprise party you didn't know you would love, but you did when you had it. Okay, so there's a very interesting thing about our soul. Its only interest, your only interest, at deep level, is to, oh, I forgot to show the cell phones. Don't just sit there and be embarrassed, shut it off. So, see, it was my fault.
Forgive
It's my reality. I forgive myself for you having to need your cell phone on. Well, see, I didn't mention it, so I didn't take care of my reality. Okay, so, oh yeah, so the closer you get to soul consciousness, the more you start realizing that bad can be used to your advantage, and good can be used to your disadvantage. So maybe good and bad aren't quite what they seem. Because the way the soul looks at it, it just wants experience. And so it's going to have these, let's set up these archetypes. And this is going to be the way I'm going to move out to be seen in this lifetime. And so then you get into whatever you're curious about, need to resolve, those kind of things you want to create, things you want to build, things you want to establish, things you want to undo. Historical dramas you don't want to miss. Or if you're a little more historical dramas you want to cause. See all that goes into it. So that's, we might say there's this mirror out here. We're called a cosmic mirror. And so that this, you ever heard this phrase, it's what's done with mirrors? You know, like an illusionist, that what it really is. So it reflects, it's always reflecting back. Well, it's a mirror, right? So something has to exist in the nature of energy, in the nature of the way the cosmos is created, to keep reflecting this back to us. But then there's a deeper place inside you where you have moments of transcendence, like, oh, I'm beyond this. This doesn't play on me. There's something about me that goes past the limits of this, that doesn't reflect back, but that looks back. See? So the nature of the soul, it exists here as an incarnation, but also exists outside of creation as a consciousness. See? Now, see, rather than being for or against that, just imagine it. Like, what might that be? See, well, the universe is this great bubble. There's a part of me outside looking in. See? But I'm trying to look back out. But now that I'm in here, I've got all these archetypes and beliefs and cultural things and news and Twitter and all that stuff, and I can't see it anymore. See? But we get this, when we're centered, we can. Because this center of ours is also transcendent. So there's this flow of energy through you is outside of creation. And it flows right through the middle of it. So we do this little breathing exercise that starts putting us in touch with that. We start enhancing that energy. And so that starts to multiply it out in our field and starts to expose falseness and push off stuff we picked up that isn't us. So breathe. Find some kind of meditation where you just calm down. Okay. So this other person is made the same way. See? actually the most intimate we are with other people is the most impersonal. Because it gets to that deep place of soul connection. But you have to let go of a lot of stuff too, favorite stuff, like getting even, I'm right, you don't listen to me, you don't touch me right. So you have to drop all that to get to that place. See, and then, in truth, that's the only place you can see clearly, is in your loving. So most of us see it in a distorted way. Until all we have left is the place of loving, because we've devastated everything else. That arises again. So when we start developing this rapport with someone, we start to set up a force field between us that's based on the things we've decided we are. So if you're supporting a cause, or you have a certain belief about reality you're sharing, it starts to vibrate that, and the universe then does look like that to your person you're in agreement with. And we'll present that kind of universe to you, because that's what you're inviting. Well, some of your counselors, and I might call Rogers, the best thing to do is just sit there and love them. And what that does is start to vibrate you here, and then starts to resonate here. So eventually the person gets overwhelmed by their own positive regard, their loving, and then they see all the stuff they've been doing, and it's, they get healthier. It's magic. So when you can be present with someone like that, and just my favorite statement, if you want to master life, is practice being present with what is. And that's what is. It means no judgments at all, not even a little one. So present with what is, and then see what you notice, because in that state of alignment, see, you're in a deep connection with everything. So when the universe reflects back to you, because you're awake at a deeper place, you're going to see what it is. If you're in your stuff, you won't see it. You'll think this stuff is real. See? But if you're in that deep place and say, well, what do you notice? It requires a simple mind. What do you notice? Well, I noticed, or this idea came to me about something that happened to me. I'll tell that to them. Oh, I noticed that somebody pulling a wagon down the road, so I'll ask them about it. See? Or you say, no, oh, I just need to be here and be loving with this person while they absorb it. And see, but if you have sympathy and you love them out of rescuing, you're not present, so you have a judgment. So the energy you're giving them to help them is out of your own structure, and you get tired, depleted, and burned down.
Right.
Whereas if giving the loving energy, that's free. And you don't get depleted. You get a little stuff, because that's just the nature of the place. You have to wash your clothes and your body once in a while too, right? So you have to wash your clients out every once in a while. Yeah. So that deeper energy will start coming through. So the more you breathe the way we just practiced and just be present, see that brings this energy in and starts resonating in their center. And then starts to provide energy, because they've depleted themselves because of their attitude and their complaints and their negativity. And so it starts building up their energy. So there's a little more space in there for them, so they can sort their stuff out. And it doesn't pull on you so much. That sound good?
Yeah.
Yeah. So after a while, this changes over here. In fact, you could just put you here and your client here before they come in and do this exercise. And then they come in ready and you're done. Okay, that's one part I forgot. So one of the things to start recognizing about the structure, the way it's made, is that there's this aspect of you that's here, and there's an aspect of you that's with the wholeness. See, so one thing that one thing about this is that you exist because you're looking back at yourself. Now, try a popular phrase that comes up. Can't you see what you're doing? You want a person to look at themselves. That's the deal I'm talking about. They're the way they are because they're the way they see themselves. So if they get conscious of how they're looking at themselves, they can look at themselves differently. And that changes what's going on here. So the thing of center and periphery is a very powerful setup. And that's your sandbox and everything goes on inside of that. And most of the common sense language we make up point to this deeper truth about ourselves. So, thank you. That was next on my list and I forgot it. So, is there somebody that remembered the next topic that I forgot about? I warned you that we were in this together because... Oh, hi.
Hi. Ever since you said there's all this out here, and then there's in here is the creativity,
What?
or creation is in here. And
No, creation is everywhere.
okay.
You as a creator, it's lined up a certain way inside of that. So what you decide and what you imagine then is the way that is programmed.
So the question that came up for me, what's the purpose of creation?
You know, I have no idea. I haven't got an answer for that yet, other than something about God getting to have an individual experience of universal love. That's the best I can come up with as a purpose. So that means it's our doing. So we sell ourselves way short. See, and this is where the transfer to the ego to the soul is important, because from the ego's viewpoint, that can either seem very ridiculous or way too grandiose, where you want to conquer countries and stuff. See, but to the soul, it's like, oh, I'm home, and you relax, and you're in all of it, but you're aware of it. So I don't mind being God aware of itself. That sounds pretty cool. And is that a purpose? That's a vessel I can come up with, but there may be other reasons I don't know about. Because when I go past that, I said, why? You know? Did you just get bored being everything? You know, those funny questions. I suppose people made up a lot of stories about that, and they're all fun, and they're all probably true from somebody's perspective. So you know, like science, there's basic questions we haven't come up with an answer for, other than when I find when I think about things a certain way and develop my cosmology in a certain way, it gives me more peace, more love, more joy, more abundance in my life, more grace. So I said, well, that's a positive reinforcement, so maybe just a big behavior modification machine, I don't know. But that's rewarding. So the more I resolve and the more practice that comes into that kind of equanimity, see. So it's like, oh, that's, to me that supports that there's a truth to this. Because I can, in the demonstration of it, it holds out. And then even somebody that says, well, I can prove it's a dog-eat-dog world, zero-sum game, I can prove it in the news, I can go out and demonstrate it. Well, to me, that just proves my point. See, because they've used that creator has used their individual gift to promote that kind of circus, or create it, or depending on how much power they build up. There's a magnetic power that can be built up on negativity. It's quite formidable. It can be very intimidating. Well, the only thing that only recourse we have at that point is to be sown or loving that we're in a deeper state than the fear. And so it's become something becomes simple, like don't play in traffic. Don't play where that war's going on, you know. That's somebody else's business. So that's, yeah, that made sense someplace. Yeah, yeah. So we'll have to just have faith that there's a good reason for this. And in the meantime, make our lives better. And realize that since we're part of the whole, every time we make our lives better, you contribute to the change of the wholeness of things. And there's I don't know what it's like, is there a tipping point when enough people wake up to who they are to start changing the game? And I don't know what that percentage is, but I know we're not there. So, yeah.
In the Course in Miracles, it says the purpose of life is to love and to know that you are loved.
Yeah, that's a good summary too. That's another stating in that term. Well, so that's starting to, we get 3 more, and that's, you know, statistically powerful.
And then also in Hinduism and Buddhism,
Oh, now 2 more. No, you did not.
they say life is but a dream, and it's God's dreams, and we just enjoy the dream, and we are in His dream.
Yeah, so we get to enjoy it at the level we choose. So some people like nightmares.
Right, absolutely. That's we can in Buddhism, if you can operate on the animal realm, the helm realm, the human realm, the lower God and the higher God.
Well, Sukaji's going to do levels of consciousness for me. I don't have to go into that.
Well, anyway, and so we are the human level, and in Buddhism they say this is a precious human rebirth,
Yeah.
and that's everything is possible in this.
Yeah, and we can prove that because everybody's trying everything out. There's not time for us to do it all, but somebody's going to do it. So we're in this together, so we don't have to worry about it. If it can be done, somebody's going to try it. So we know what we want to try. And, so I thank you for that. Yeah.
Okay, so.
You didn't know this was a panel thing, did you?
No, it's not understand. So I was just thinking from a practical standpoint, looking at what you've drawn up there, a lot depends on what a person wants, needs, or desires.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it would be interesting if 2 people came together who had no expectation at all.
Right.
What that might be like. What would that look like, I wonder?
Yeah, there's still motivation, but see, it comes from an inspiration. It comes from a deeper place.
Yeah.
See, so it comes with a greater potential of, see, one's desires are often tied to objects or states or some kind of ideal, and so they have a limited scope to them. And in a sense, when we have these desires and hopes and dreams, we inadvertently put a limit on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
See, so because we're only reading certain levels inside of us. She outlined the levels. So reading certain levels inside. So but the level of us that is the all, that's where love and intelligence merge. It knows all of it.
Yeah.
So it knows within whatever our progression has been, whatever our eternity has been, the best solutions. See, so, and things that are outside of where we've gone. So if we'll let it, life will expand us past our comfort zone into things new, past what we can imagine. So that's a level in us too. So we come into this, what we might call 0 point, or this place of presence, which is also, in the sense of the ego, nothing. It opens a place where inspiration arises, and that inspiration comes from the level that knows the real good stuff. See, so then the two people start sharing from that inspiration, and who knows what kind of kite they may fly. Maybe without a string, you know. So that's the way it goes. Now, when you're reflecting on that inside of yourself, you pick up on exactly what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
See, so that, oh yeah, I just didn't know where I put that book. See, when he was talking, it reminded me where I put that book. Now I can read my own book.
Sure.
See, you got that?
Sure.
Because we're also constantly reminding each other. See?
Yeah.
So,
Although it's useful to have that.
no, we need all the help we can get.
So what do you think about the possibility that certain patterns, certain possibilities can only emerge when two people come together?
Well, the things that emerge when two people come together can only come up when two people come together.
Exactly.
So that's a simple thing.
I know that's simple. But if your intention is to grow, right, then connecting with others is very valuable to them. That's my point.
Well, it's all relational anyway.
It is relational,
Really.
even with them, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all relational.
Very good. Very
Yeah.
good.
You remind me of something I said again now. Oh, yeah. So, you know, meeting someone, being inspired by the relationship is wonderful. And then, you know, after a while, it can run into problems or not turn out, you can be
Right.
disappointed. So, while you know, chasing your bliss, you can do a little homework, which is an exploration inside of any places you're still harboring lack.
Yeah.
Because any place you're harboring fear or lack or those kind of things, the inspiration will come up, yeah, and it's, oh, this person's wonderful, but it distorts a little because of the lack. So say 80% of it's like, wow, expansive relationship, but then there's attacks. And 20% over here is making up for this lack, so you can feel good about yourself because of something out here. See, so the more you clear those up, the broader the contact.
Yeah. And there's more possibility.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. So
Beautiful. I like it.
while we're waiting for the kismet,
The kismet, yes.
we clean up our house.
Wonderful.
You haven't got anything else to do because you're waiting for kismet. So meantime, I'll clean up my house.
Yeah. That's a good way to go.
And this even works out with physical metaphors, like you know, you have a shed, or which I have one that needs cleaning out, and you clean it out and make it straight. And wow, I feel really good. See, because your consciousness had to support that inside, and so it distorted
Yeah,
everything a
okay.
little bit, made you a little lazy, a little wrecked, made you a little prone to, you know, put things off. Those kind of patterns can come from just not keeping up with your house clean, getting see. So the attention, the way we take care of our life, reflects into the way the universe takes care of us. See, it's relational. It's all a conversation. So how do you want God to treat you? Well, treat yourself that way, and then it'll have because it's unconditional love. It'll give you what you want.
Yeah.
See, so there's this constant conversation going on. So part of this is also very adopting a dynamic viewpoint of yourself. I'm always in a state of change. I'm always in a state of using everything to transform myself into loving. So then everything else will take care of itself likely.
Yeah.
But if we get fixed, I don't like change, I don't like this is my tribe, this is my, so contract. So see, then it just goes against the possibilities.
Yeah, I think you're describing a wonderful way to heal.
Yeah, as far as I know, it's the only way to heal, but.
Yeah, absolutely.
There may be others.
No, I think I agree with you.
Yeah,
Lao Tzu said, the nature of life is change,
yeah,
and the sage isn't happy when the wheel of life goes up, and he isn't depressed when it goes down, because he knows the wheel of life goes round and round and round,
yeah.
so that's the way it is.
There's another thing where all the time we're either lifting ourselves up or tearing ourselves down. So you know, there's some simplicity that we can use this in a very simple way, which has to do with attitude. It's like, whatever happens, be grateful.
Yes.
If you could discipline that one.
Yeah.
The rest of it is set up to straighten everything else out. So, but that's a tough one. So,
Yeah, that is.
just about the time you got it, somebody like, you know, bashes into your car. And it wasn't even your fault other than you're in your car. So when you get in your car, you take responsibility. And if it happens to your car, be thankful, because it could happen to your body and your car took it for you. See, there's always a gratitude in there. Yeah, just checking, nobody's going to sleep yet, so we're in good shape.
In terms of everything you've been saying, can you comment on Donald Trump, and he's in all of our collective
Yeah, I've
story?
been talking about that, didn't get it, it was code.
Well, can you talk about that one, the historical drama? You said we're, you know, you don't want to miss the historical drama.
Yeah, just stay away. The best is yet to come. You know, when this, I remember one time I was having oh yeah, when he got elected, I had this voice come inside and says, you know, we first started out doing stuff, and it was alarming. So there's this voice inside that said, you haven't seen nothing yet. So I said, I don't know who said that, but could you say more? But they didn't. And another, even earlier when things were, I don't know, just as, I don't know if it was when Nixon was president, but I was in a state of disturbance about the world. You know? And that's always a sign you're have been doing your spiritual practice. But anyway, so I had this inner experience in a dream where I was shown that, you know, here's the world going along thinking it's getting away with everything. But then here's this other level of spirit, and it's going along setting stuff up. And the reason you can't see it is that if it showed itself too soon, negativity would see it and get in the way. So it's just going to wait for the right time. It's one of those new day and new dawn, like a twinkle of an eye. You know? But you can say, well, you know, that's kind of naive and rainbowish and unicorns and stuff like that. Well, why not? It makes you feel better. And there's a sense to it. Like, the thing is, everything has a consequence, a cause and effect, karma. And so everything that's done has an effect. So it's like, how do you want to be involved with that? You want to get tied into that, or you want to just be present in your loving and bring that kind of, like the Rogerian therapist. Just be present, love them, let them talk. See? So it accelerates that. See, so it's a cause and effect. So you're like, well, this is curious. I'll just watch this and see what kind of causes are set up and how the effect comes about. Because right now it's easy to look at the news and say, how can they get away with that? Well, okay, is that an honest question? Or are you just reacting? See, if you're reacting, you're not going to get an answer. If it's an honest question, you will get an answer to how they get away with that or not. See? But I can't tell you anything is going to make you peaceful about it, because I'm living outside of you over here, and it's your problem how to come to peace with that. See, so how can I position myself and align myself in a way that gives me peace in relationship to this. Doesn't mean I have to approve of it. It might mean I have to vote, but doesn't mean I have to approve of it. Or maybe I'll run for office, because I want to get into it. I want to get in the mix. I've been sitting in this too long. See? And those are all, they'll be what you notice. Yeah.
So Robert, you already did a really nice job of already answering that. I thought when you brought up at the very beginning, the relationship to images is really what our whole system is about. And it's
Yeah.
about the love and the fear and those opposing forces within
What kind of
us.
cosmology you want to build?
Because when clients come in over the years, it's always been some love or do not love Obama, some love or do not love Trump, you know, that whole
Yeah.
political opposing faction between everybody. And it's the same thing. It's how much are they gathering those images? How much are they stirring within themselves the fear? And how much do they need to align themselves with? Do they gather the images or not?
Yeah, take responsibility for them and then find how to access that inside. You ever read Byron Katie's stuff?
No.
Oh, you gotta look at it.
Okay.
You love it.
Okay.
But like when there's a problem in a relationship, she does this, she does a lot of things. One of the things she does is like, well, these are questions you ask yourself. Like, what would you like them to do instead? How would that make you feel? And then you reflect it back to yourself. So what do I have to do for myself
Mhm.
to take care of this? See? And then it just shifts. And very powerful. I didn't get those 4 questions quite right, but look her up.
I will,
Yeah.
I will.
Anybody read Byron Katie's stuff?
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah. Do you have a more clear statement of those 4 questions?
Well, she has a thing on Trump on YouTube, it's great.
So you already have an answer and you're just like pimping
No,
me?
I want to know what you're thinking about it. I mean, I know the ultimate cosmic answer is, of course, this da-da-da, and I have nice dreams about Trump as a baby and a little guy, but I wanted to know what your take was on.
You should check with his mother.
His mother died, so.
Anyway, yeah. Good, yeah, so great.
Yeah, so the questions are, and correct me, but, so do you believe it's true?
Yeah.
And do you really believe it's
That's the other one,
And then how does it affect you? You know,
Who
how does
would
it
you
affect
be
your
if you couldn't
relationships? Yeah, how does it affect your what's the effect on your relationships? What's your effect on you of believing this? If you didn't believe it,
Yeah, that's one of them. Yeah.
what would it be?
Yeah.
And then it's increasing perspective and turning it around and playing with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Which is the corollary to the one of
Yeah, and
would
it's,
you like them to do it instead and then do it for yourself?
yeah, and then it's almost in that last one, it's almost quantum when you really hit one.
It is, and it's
You can just feel things connect.
It's energetic. It so lays out how this coding works in our consciousness.
Yeah.
How we code ourselves and program our reality, and it's just a reprogramming. And it's just all right. It is based on this being set up like this. So anyway, if you haven't looked into it, look into it. Set up a review of it. Thanks.
Is it based then in?
What?
Is it based then in like Freudian reframing? Is the whole,
Yeah, I don't know about Freudian reframing, or how far he got with that, but yeah, it's a kind of reframing something.
okay.
See, everything that works is going to relate in some way. I think Jung was more onto how this dynamic is set up. But yeah, you know, you have a perspective, and if you reframe it, it's a different picture. And so not only are you seeing the thing to get here and how powerful it is when you look at it, when you change how you look at it in yourself, life looks at you differently because you've changed the relationship. It's relational. You've changed how you're inviting life to see you, as well as inviting yourself to look at life differently. See, and sometimes life doesn't like that, so it'll bring up negativity at first, and you'll think it didn't work. See, but you have to persevere till it wears itself out. See? How we doing? Ready for a little break yet, or let's take a little break? I was going to start a while ago, but people kept coming and going. So we have the cooler now. It's basic. You always check and see if it's plugged in.
Oh, God.
Oh, my goodness.
Just in case a little switch on the wall. Or check the gas tank. Basic stuff. And, it's a good metaphor for everything. Most of it's that simple. Check and see if the power supply's hooked up. So that's what we've been talking about. So before you start getting into a million hours of counseling and fixing that and going to war, see if the power supplies work. See if you're plugged in and take care of that, and then it rearranges things. So that you have a different perspective. You're playing with half a deck, I guess, as the saying goes. So you can, what card do you draw? That's fate. But make sure you have a whole deck. We could write a whole nother little book of sayings here, add to our common sense. One of my favorite ones is, when in doubt, assume you're right.
Yeah.
It's much easier to solve. Because if you assume you're wrong or somebody else is, then you have to deal with all that. And it's easier to deal with your own mistakes, so you might as well favor yours. Okay. That was my warm-up act. Voice is a little funny today. So I think it would be fun to do a couple of guided processes here, just to make sure we're plugged in, make sure all the deck's there, in terms of the physics of our consciousness. So it'd be two parts. One of the ways I look at the energetics of creation is there's the magnetic energy, which has to do with everything that has form on whatever level. See? So anything that's inside, anything that reflects back is magnetic energy. It's electromagnetic, has polarity, has flow, has attraction, has repulsion. And it's has to do with our construction in the context we're in, the place we're in. And then there's the spiritual energy that flows through that. Flows through creation. Like when we're really centered, we have this conversation going where the energy comes through creation, and we meet it. We also can draw it through us and meet it. So it's a nice conversation. I don't know if any of you noticed this, but when you're out, sometimes everything seems so bright and alive. Like it's like the trees, something radiates out of them. Where you touched into that kind of state where you're seeing this conversation. So you're lined up in a way inside that the spirit can see you. So that's a spiritual energy, and it's unconditional, and it's loving, and it's very intelligent, and it knows where everything is. So if you lose your keys, ask it, because it knows what you did with them. And it, it's no problem for it, because it's everything, so it doesn't bother God with anything. So when the magnetic energy is activated in balance, the spiritual energy uses as a conduit. It flows in across that. So when there's chaos and discord and fighting, and it disturbs the field, and the spiritual energy won't inflict, won't say, inflict. So it has to wait till you get over your, so you get worn out, like you get so tired you can't fight anymore, then you can come in and help you out with your defeat, or even help you out with your success. You won, okay. That's just as dangerous as losing, because you can make up all kinds of stuff about that when you win, that get in the way of you in a bigger relationship. So this first part of this is just a way to start to open up our circuits and tune us back into the magnetic field. So you first have to be, I hope you aren't too self-conscious, notice yourself. Like, who's I was going to say, who's sitting in this chair? But the thing is, well, your body's sitting in this chair. Most of you are present, and some of you are off someplace, and you come and go. But once we get this down, you can be both places at once. You can be, I'm my body, I'm also my soul, and we got everything covered. So in the grounding of ourselves, connecting with this magnetic earth, being the pole of that here, it's hard to manifest things in your life unless you're grounded. Like if you're too floaty, you gotta ground it. So some people say, well, be practical, do this and this, then grounds you, yeah. But also just energetically. Like, yeah, I do all these spiritual things and none of them seem to work. And, well, you're probably not quite grounded. You gotta find your place, which ultimately ends up being right where you are. And then you can establish that wherever you go. You maybe take a trip or move and say, oh, I'm not quite settled yet. See, that's an intuitive knowing that you haven't connected into the earth there. You haven't grounded yourself. I don't know what we're going to do when we go into space. We'll have to work something out. Hopefully by then we know that we're at home in ourselves. So, okay, so here you are in your body, in your seat, and your feet are flat, and then just for now. Hopefully you can reach the floor. So, and you notice that you have 2 arms, 2 legs, so it's bilateral symmetry. Well, almost. The thing about this is you never quite get a balanced view, because like one eye's over here and the other one's in here, and one ear's different. So it doesn't quite settle in, but that's good, because that keeps us, so we always have to keep moving. So just bring that awareness into your place. Your place is the space you're in, the body's in that space. And this part's going to be opened eyes, so don't go to sleep yet. So there's a natural relationship here. Your heart and your arms come out, and then your hands are where you contact and engage life. It's very powerful. There's a very active center there, magnetic center. And then there's the center in your head, and there's a very natural circulation. So in this process, I'm going to have you look at your hands and just admire them. get too taken with this, just other than to know. So just be present, notice what she has, which is your hands. And this starts a natural flow of energy circulating. And it starts building and magnetizing your field. Just yourself and your space. Just by looking at your hands. Sometimes we just we read a book and hold our hands like this. I don't know what that does if you put an iPad in the way, but with a book it does charge you up. So now just turn them towards each other. Now just see what happens with that space in between, and see what you feel. Some people feel pressure, some nothing, but you'll start to feel something in there, and that's that magnetic field, and you start to sensitize your hands to it, so that you have this tactile connection with things. See, some of us visualize with our whole body, like as if we're in a space. Other people visualize that they see a picture of themselves in a space. See, and both really work really well. So this is part of that side of it. Now rub your hands together again. Now I'll just have you, we're going to create a little discernment and use the different colors. So each color represents a flow of energy in the creation. So, and each of them have a different function. So we'll start with red. So just choose red and imagine that this is you're choosing just red energy. And we're going to explore what that frequency is like. So we can begin to build a spiritual discernment by practicing the colors. So how are you doing with red? Looking at your hands here. Yeah. So now turn them towards each other and see if there's any difference. There may not be between when you were looking at your hands with the red. Any pressure, any... Okay, now rub them together. We're doing the short version of this. It takes a lot longer when I'm doing class because I bother you a lot more. Okay, now look at your hands again. And have your palms facing towards your face. We're going to make a kind of closed loop here, so start building energy. And so this time we're going to choose orange. And so imagine that it's an orange energy that's flowing. And so we're engaging that. And then turn them towards each other and then see if there's any difference between, when you play with this energy, start playing with it within your hands, you notice any difference from the orange and the red. So you're not required to, there's a new adventure, not something you're supposed to already know about, unless you do. See, I'm rubbing together. And now let's look at our hands again, and we're going to do a little generation of yellow now. So choose yellow. And see, so because whatever we focus on, focuses on us. So now we're doing yellow, so we're tuned into yellow with our natural structure to amplify it. And then we're also asking the universe to look at us in terms of yellow. See, in terms of being present and with that energy. So turn your hands towards each other again and see if there's any change. And the more loose you keep them, instead of tense, just relax. And the more you relax, so the key here in terms of paying attention and relaxing, which really opens it up for us. So let's rub our hands together. You can do this when you feel tired now. Spark you up a bit. So, oh yeah, green is next, right? So let's choose green. And imagine that, if you have to imagine a tree or a leaf or the green fields of Ireland, go ahead. So, and let let that activate through your structure, your nature, and put your hands towards each other. And let's play with that. Just gets us acquainted with it, like, oh, what's there? Also, we start to notice, if we can, any difference of the colors. But we're practicing tuning into different frequencies. Okay. Now let's have you rub your hands together. And that's the select blue now. We're going to ask for that and tune into that. Our relationship to blue. And amplify that through our presence. As you've been doing this for a while, you may notice other things around the periphery of that because you're used to it. And just relax your mind a little more so you're not pushing. And so that's play with that between your hands now. See what that's the nature of blue. You can see, it's okay to talk to the colors too, like, hey, how you doing? What do you do? What's your job in the universe? Maybe my liver's a little off and I need a little bit of that color. Could you go down there and, like while we're doing this process, check in on my liver? You can talk to it like that. So rub your hands together. And let's do indigo, which is a very deep, kind of changes in some of the psychic frequencies, very deep blue. Let's choose that. Play with that color, indigo. When I do these colors, it reminds me of my first huge box of Crayolas. They have the paper around them, and little colors written on them. So I do indigo, I see the Crayola with indigo written on it. It's kind of fun. So that may be a good way to tune in. Okay, let's rub our hands together again. And what that does when we're rubbing our hands together is kind of pushes it out into our field or space. It starts building the energy there. So now let's look at our hands again. And let's choose purple. Be present with that, see how that builds up in your field. Just play with that a bit. Let's play with the purple. And some of you may notice the field's getting a little bigger, and some of that's from, we're doing a sequence of colors, and some of that is from the color itself. You might hear things, might feel things move in your body. So let's rub our hands together again. Now we'll just do a few more colors you may not have thought of because they have a different quality of energy to them. So let's choose silver. Let's look at our hands and I want to pay attention to silver now and open my space to it, to generating silver by looking at my hands and being present. And there we go. Now just feel what that like between your hands. It's a different, sometimes people get a feeling of liquid light when we shift to the metallics, like silver. Let's rub our hands together. And so let's check in on gold and see if that, how that shows up for you. Again, just letting your body just tune into the field and help generate this color. It's actually taking the head reflecting back to the heart, see, so it's a generator. So, yeah, there we go, it's nice energy. Now let's play with the gold. Some of you know, I notice my hands just keep going out further because the field gets fuller and it gets to be more in the space. And some of the fatigue from what I was doing yesterday is starting to fall off of me. I like that. That's nice. So let's rub our hands together. Just a couple more here. So let's, this may seem like an odd one to put in there with, let's do turquoise. Sometimes that surprises people because, isn't that blue-green? We did that. No, turquoise, it's special. And you just go down the plaza and see how special turquoise is. So let's play with that a bit, turquoise. A lot of silver and turquoise in New Mexico. So let's rub our hands together. So we just got a couple more here. Let's look at our hands again and let's see if we can handle white. Just all white energy. Let's just manufacture and tap into that white energy a little bit and see how that what that connects me to here. Let's play with that. And I just pause for a moment, and then we have one more, which is colorless, translucence, the color of nothing, and spirit's colorless, the Holy Spirit's colorless. It shows up with a color, just using a color to do a certain thing or to communicate something. So this colorless, what is nothing? Let's do nothing energy. And how does that build up in the field? And take your hands and play with nothing. And go ahead and rub your hands together and relax. So I'd just like to check in with you and see what kind of questions came up, or experiences, or insights. I know some of you shared this process with me before, maybe several times. But what did you notice?
I noticed the real change in temperature. I mean, that was more obvious to me than it's been played with colors
Yeah.
in
So,
my life before, but I really, red was really warm and orange was definitely cooler. And it went cooler and cooler until we got to the gold, and gold was warm again. It was fascinating.
yeah, yeah.
I really felt the temperature stuff. this
And
time.
each time we do it, we open up to see these colors go to different parts inside us that need that, and so it's going to be different each time.
Well, and then there were some colors that I could have used more of longer. I could
Yeah, I was rushing a little. Yeah,
Well,
we could go back and
I'll
over
do that.
lunch and fill in. Which colors you could have had more of?
green was one of them,
Okay.
and turquoise.
Uh,
And white was really interesting because I don't always relate to that very well.
To what?
To white, yeah, but the light this morning as I was driving into town with the clouds was so soft and beautiful and radiant. And I don't know, there was just something special in it. So I got that,
Reminded of that.
the white one and then the colorless one.
Yeah.
That was beautiful.
That's a good indicator. Anybody else care to share about their experience or have a question about it? Yeah.
Have a sense of the translucent having a relationship to isness.
Uh-huh. Yeah, those in of itself, isness comes up with that frequency. That's really sweet to get to experience that. Yeah, it's nice. It's something we wouldn't think of, just, eating our hamburger or something. Yeah. Thanks. What else? Oh,
I feel a lot of power building each time we do color. And part of that is because I've been through massage therapy.
yeah.
I know that's how you help build the energy. Everyone
You
has,
do massage therapy?
I have.
Yeah, so your hands have been activated,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but everyone has that power, so
Yeah.
it's like awakening to those colors, and the colors are also the chakras,
Yes, exactly.
which open us, you know,
Yeah.
so
So
it's
it's
beautiful.
got to revisit.
Yeah, but I did notice the silver and the gold felt more like they were flowing
Yeah, they're,
than the solid colors.
they're kind of like a liquid.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, interesting.
yeah.
Could they be metallic, but, oh yeah, they mean the energy that's kind
Mhm.
of,
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah.
So even before we began, I noticed after we came back and it started to settle, that the energy in the room was different.
Uh-huh.
I do some energy work and I could really feel the difference, just in the room.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so I was intentionally grounding myself, and just letting myself feel that. So it was interesting to do this exercise, but also I think there is that awareness that the energy is there and accessible all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and I kind of felt the need to open that, but as you were doing what you were doing, that energy was flowing so thoroughly through me that I was having a hard time sitting still. Because it's like I was almost buzzing. It was like, I just, you know, my legs were kind of.
To bring some water, they give you the.
Yeah, I do have some water, yeah.
Yeah.
So New Mexico does that, you know.
As well, yeah.
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 So, anyway, I just wanted to share that.
That's cool,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was cool.
And the more we do it, the more our bodies become accustomed to it.
Yes.
So they accept it
Yeah.
and actually start looking forward to it.
Yes.
And it's great. Yeah, thanks. Was this the first time to do that kind of process for anybody?
First time.
Yeah. How'd it go for you?
I certainly felt the energy in between,
Uh-huh.
but I couldn't tell subtle differences like some people can.
Okay.
It seems like working with it, I could refine it.
Yeah, you have to practice.
Exactly.
So it's a good practice for training yourself to attune to specific frequencies.
Yes.
Because a lot of our inner work has to do with getting the exact frequency and then letting go of everything else and then going with that frequency. And so it's good practice to build up that acuity.
I did notice sort of, I mean, I can't tell you where, but it felt like with some colors, they resonated with certain parts of the body as well.
They do, yeah.
Right, that's what I thought.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Some people write books on this, but yeah, see, we're a cosmic being. We're made out of stardust. So each organ, each part of the body, these colors are integral to, and so they service it in a sense. They're like,
Yeah.
well, they're, you know, one of them maybe has a liver, another has a, a heart, or another one has an adenoid or whatever else, a sinus. And so when we do this, we make ourselves receptive. And so there's a natural resonance, so we'll absorb the color we need and it'll come to us.
I've watched you work with people and you use light. And it seems, I don't know if you're doing that now, it was years ago. And it seemed to really have a profound effect on the person you work with.
Yeah, it's a...
You were just sitting there directing light or
Yeah,
describing
well,
light? Perhaps.
yeah, the good way to look at this is the light uses you. So one of the reasons I spend so much time with this natural structure is it's set up to be a conduit of everything and be part of everything. So we can either, so what do we allow to work through us? You know, our darker attitudes and shadows, or do we use this ability to track frequencies to connect with something that is uplifting and helpful, see?
Sure.
Yeah. So in my experience, just, you know, like we're all present in this room, in a very nice way, there's a good, and people have an attitude of, well, I just want to get what's here, you know. not a lot of judgment. And so it sets up a kind of dialogue that whatever we do in our internal or external conversation, it starts tracking us transformationally, because that's our nature. See, so just like we're talking about your questions and stuff, but we're also traveling together.
Yeah.
See, so we're going to be different people by the time we stop talking than we were when we started talking to each other. And we're set up to do that. See, and just when you recognize that inside of you, right? You can feel a shift inside. The way I experience it, you got a little emotional.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh,
Me
get
get
emotional while you
Yeah, yeah. See, because we start to wake up to, oh yeah, there's a
Yeah,
kinship,
there you
there's a
go.
connection. See, we're not separate, we're two sides of the same voice talking to each other. And the deepest urge is to help each other out, which is different than rescuing each other. It's to help each other out. See, so let's keep, so it's like we're the two hands now. We did the hands here. We're the two hands.
Yeah.
One hand on the other hand.
That's good.
See, so it keeps building energy. And it's just, so it's that basic.
That's very sweet.
Yeah, very sweet, absolutely. It's a good way to describe it. Yeah. All these adjectives come back to us. No, I can't talk with nouns and verbs, and I like adjectives.
I mean, it's interesting you describe something that really isn't known. You know what I mean? I mean, it's not really understood for most of us, perhaps.
Consciously.
Consciously.
You know, well, what I was
That's what I'm
pointing out
saying.
with the kind of folk knowledge that comes up, like, that people come up with phrases that match this and don't realize that's what they're tapping into. See, so yeah, it's not commonly talked about because it's not part of the narrative or the conversation. So we recognize that. See. One thing I like to do with that, though, is that when I'm talking to someone, that I like to, if I can get into rhythm with their level of conversation, the light works just as well. See, I don't have a hierarchy on it, like we got to use my spiritual words. No, we use your gas station words. So let's talk about putting gas in the car. We can lift consciousness. See, or who won the World Series? We can lift consciousness.
Sure.
Depending on how we meet each other and how we listen, and it's heartfelt.
Yeah.
See, we start tracking that frequency, and it changes things. So, yeah, it's not commonly talked about, but on the other hand, we're here and we're human and we have a spiritual quality and we can't help ourselves. And we'll lift if we get that we can. But, like we're going through now, the programming's so strong to stick to a heavy level. Like instead of having a 0 point, we have zero-sum game.
Yeah.
And it's very different. See? Both can result in nothing, maybe. We'll see. Thanks. Yeah.
Robert, can you speak to when Carolyn Mace talked about the energy that we each carry and this chakra? She went on, and this is a long time ago.
It does go on and on.
Yeah.
That's
It's
a-
huge.
yeah, it just goes on and on.
It's a huge connection that each one of us
Yeah.
has. I mean, it's just amazing.
It goes on, and then it
Yeah.
comes back and looks at us.
But it is, it's like
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah. So
Connection to life.
once we get into this deeper aspect of ourselves, we also need to consider that we're a vital part of what happens here. And so just our opposite, like they found in science when the observer effect, like us being here in that kind of connection and witnessing makes it possible for things to happen. It translates that energy into this level. If we're just working with all the magnetic frequencies, that enables spirit to ride in across that and work in a way that it couldn't without us.
Or even if we all joined hands, it would do
Well,
the same.
that does it,
Yeah.
that creates that magnetic unity so spirit
Yeah.
can work through it. See, so it can really be a crucial part of it, we just don't realize the magnitude of it. See?
Yeah.
That we're actually, what makes possible God's action on the planet by our presence. See, so when we're not present in that line, we're really abdicating our job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if you feel guilty about that, you're missing the point. Yeah, so good point, yeah, so, we have that, different levels of authority. Like this, there's one level that has to do with, when we make the statement, I am, that activates the spiritual level that makes things so, it's like a command. It's the kind of authority we have here. So if we say, you know, I am worthless, we set up a law that we're worthless. The same thing we do, I forgive myself, I'm forgiving myself. It sets up a law. See, so we have that kind of authority inside us. So it's even integrated into our language, how we speak, how we use speech, how we speak about it. So it codes the energy. So it's attitude or speech. And so I like to learn to listen to myself. So I listen to myself speak, and once you start that practice, you can tell when you're saying something that's off. So that didn't sound right. We correct that. Sometimes they'll say something, we'll go flat, say, oh, that's not right. We need to clean that up.
So we are a perfect vibration.
Yeah, so we keep, building the sensitivity, so we can even monitor ourselves.
So it's about direct knowing.
Yeah, this is the knowing stage. When I was coming up, through the different learning places I've been, some of them were seeing this and seeing that, and it seemed to me that it was kind of distracting. They'd see something in somebody's aura, or see this and see that. It seems distracting. Oh yeah, so they see that, but they still have to interpret that based on whatever their understanding is. Except when I got to this connection, and that just knows. So I just said, well, I just bypass everything and just see what comes, see what inspires when I get to that place of zero or nothing. What's the knowing that comes in? And so, an extension of this practice in the vibration of the colors, well, what's the vibration of knowing feel like? So when that frequency's there, I know that I know. And what's the test? Well, I speak it, act on it, and see how it turns out. And so far, batting average is pretty good. It acts out. You can do it with the knowing that he's there. Take that a little deeper, and really the only measure we have that's truth is loving. Not loving of something, but just the presence of loving. That's the base frequency. And so everything's measured to that, like something really against it. You can, well, that feels painful, that feels destructive, that feels horrifying. And the reason we know that is it's measured to loving. So we can look for truth out here all we want, but that's where you're going to get the truth, is through that. Knowing through that presence. So I think that's all the chakras now. Thanks. Yeah. How we doing? Water's for drinking, not inhaling. Water's for drinking, not inhaling. Still learning some basic stuff. So, I use the word coding. It's a popular word now. All this computer stuff, people learn to code. And it introduces that kind of language or metaphor. Oh yeah, you write this code and then this program behaves a certain way, has a certain outcome, do certain things, it'll access stuff, it connects us, it transmits things just by changing this code. So it's a great metaphor that when we look at, well, our sense of life is, our part of it is we code ourselves. So we're making code all the time. And so anything that, each image, each decision, each choice, sometimes if something traumatic happens, it affects the code. There's even some wonderful research going on with epigenetics where our thoughts and emotions can actually change our genetic code. So it's very extensive. So that's a basic thing. That's how, I mean, I don't know if we could change enough to have an extra arm or leg, but what would you do with it? And that would set up a real distortion because there's something nice about this polarity, see? I don't want to mess up my polarity. I want to make it clearer. So when people talk about having a sacred attitude towards life, like, no, this isn't sacred. I'm talking about, hot dogs and boxing matches and race cars. This isn't sacred. However it is. Because when you make things, when you consider everything is sacred, even the smallest thing, it's like that's how you code. That's coding it. It's like you bring something to it, that choice. Like how you're going to regard someone. See, so, I missed this. When I brought my emotions and my thoughts and my spirit present, I created an oath, like you either curse yourself or curse somebody else, or build up an idea about those people. See, and there's that moment of emotion and choice and belief that you lock that inside of you. Once you make it so, it codes the program. And then when this energy flows through you, it has to incorporate that program. Now, the thing is about these programs, have you ever seen these mental block experiments where they create these elaborate, just on one formula, they introduce a magnetic formula, and it'll self-replicate in all kinds of versions of itself. Well, so these little codes, little choices you make have consciousness in them, because that's you. And so they're going to start replicating themselves in all the possible variations. See? So even when somebody's trying to convince you of something, they're trying to give you a code. And so sometimes you go back and do your own work. You find, oh yeah, my mother told me that when I was 10 years old and I bought it, about who I was and who I ought to be. And it just didn't stay there. It replicated itself. I got hundreds of them in there now, crawling around supporting this viewpoint. And they're actually like going out and finding other people that have the same code and they're joining me, see. It sounds kind of insidious, doesn't it? Little codes creeping around. Like coming out her toe and going in her toe over there. We could make a really cool sci-fi movie. Yeah,
I was just thinking about when you go through master's programs, they'll have you pick your counseling philosophy.
uh-huh,
And where I'm from, picking Jungian was like outer space to them.
really?
But yet, walking in a room where people talk Jungian is like a code that all of a sudden you know, oh,
Yeah, that does.
we're all speaking the same
Yeah,
language.
like matches my code, yeah.
Right, and so I think it's probably true of any cultural, we were talking about two different cultural situations.
Exactly.
And before the political situations, it's like, it's a code. When people get together, they're speaking a language together that they just drift to.
Yeah, and so wherever that school was, I can't imagine, but it's in the United States, huh?
Oh, it's not far from here.
See, so they have their cosmology in their language. Well, you can look at that too in a way that, like, okay, that model works to the level it works. But let me see how that one handles love, how it handles the loving. And that'll be the true part of that.
Mm-hmm.
See, so
Yeah.
you can relate to them that way, like, where's the hard part of this?
Mm-hmm.
Because we all have this impulse, this give and receive love. So we're going to have an urge to go out and share the loving. So if they're in counseling, even if they're damaged, they're going to have that urge under there.
Mm-hmm.
So you look and build on just that one. And another thing I noticed about over the years about these different schools of counseling and psychology is that if you put them in a kind of hierarchy in a way, they match the chakras.
No, I hadn't thought of that. I'm gonna have to go back and try that one.
Yeah, so he's like, you know, like Rogers is like heart chakra, and then there's, you know, so each one matches a chakra.
Can you go through all of them?
That would be fun.
I think I did that once. Let's see. I'll try, but there's in my little book on Footprints on Eternity, I think I have a chart on that. It charts them out, like which ones go with which psychology. And so once I write it down, I can forget it. So I had to read my own book and go down. But you know, there's more instinctual ones like behavior modification that are obvious, you know. Jungian, I mean, Freud dealing with the psychosexual, so it's like second chakra,
Yeah,
see, things like that.
right.
Maybe Adler would be third chakra. Power.
Maybe.
Maybe. Where would you put it? I mean,
Yeah, Adler, yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, so it's common sense. So when you're, and whether you are attuned to that enough to notice that, oh, this person's kind of blocked in their second chakra, so let me use this psychology. See? And then you'll start noticing ones that have to incorporate everything. Like Levine's trauma stuff, I think, incorporates everything. I don't know how conscious it is of it, but you know, when the trauma it locks up in the brain, you know, so you go flat. Well, so his approach is you start doing these, you know, find these access points, and pretty soon you wake up a pattern of energy, and the switch goes back on in the brain. So you have to be dealing with energy in a holistic approach with that, even though he incorporates the, you know, the animals through the cosmic levels to do that. See, so you'll find a lot of integral things, like you know, the psychosynthesis stuff by Saggio is integral. It includes everything. Maslow in his hierarchy has everything in there. Anyway, so I think I made a chart of all that in that book. If you really care about the intellectual amusement of that, go get one of those books. I don't know if I do it in the one on balancing or not. I do a little bit. There's one chart in there that has Maslow hierarchy. I think it's in that book I did the chart. I don't get it, but I don't have time. But it's fascinating, huh?
Thank you, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it's quite fun to look at that and say, oh, they have their place. They're a little school. Then you can also compare it with the different yogas in the East. You know, Jnana yoga or Hatha yoga. They start lining up with the different cycles. Raja yoga, Shakti yoga. See, so all the yogas line up with those. So you can match the yogas and the psychologies. It's quite fun because it's always very universal. Human beings come up, when they research themselves, they come up with similar models.
Albert, where would you put Rudolf Steiner?
He integrates everything. So it's a holistic perspective. I like, the way I like to use Steiner the most, I think, is in the developmental cycles. So I'll compare him to that, you know, the developmental stuff, like Piaget. I put that in the chart too, where they have the developmental cycles.
And what
Steiner.
book is that?
It's Footprints of Eternity. It's a book, right? It's not here. So I compared Steiner's developmental cycles to that. So that's where I like to use him. Because he has this wonderful perspective where each 7-year biological cycle creates the context, so a deeper aspect of this, so more of the soul can incarnate. So and that's why the shift in outlook of behavior and consciousness. So each cycle the organism develops so it can handle more of the soul. So we keep going after it. You know, we're kind of mature at 25, but not quite. We keep going. So as we change, more of the soul can incarnate. So Steiner was very attuned to that. And a bunch of other stuff. Well, so much for the academic stuff. I don't find lost animals either.
That's funny.
Some people do, they're really good at it.
They miss all the words.
We had this corgi that gets, we used to have classes in our house. We finally quit doing that because the corgi complained. But she would get real superstitious and weird. And we couldn't quite get what was going on. So we found this animal psychic that was really pretty good. So she checked in with our corgi and said, well, you know, he's really upset because these people come in, they leave all this junk there. Like they left this like llama and this tiger and stuff, and she just doesn't like it. They come and leave their stuff. So one, we got more careful in terms of having classes in our house because people leave their stuff and clean it up a bit. And then we worked out a deal with her where if something was there that shouldn't be there, she'd come and tell us. So we weren't having a class, she'd come start bothering us. And so we'd check with her, see if we were being, you know, running kind of clean enough ship. So that was fun. Yeah. And then the other corgi thought it was his job to take everything on. So she'd come in and sleep on the floor when we have a class, and then when the class was over, she could hardly walk. Because she'd pick up all the stuff in the class. So we had to clean her out. And so I said, oh, we'll just have our classes someplace else, besides our house. Or get rid of the dogs. We weren't going to do that. So. Yeah.
When I was in Nepal, I had a conversation with a young lady, and when I got back home, I realized I felt paranoia. And I felt that somebody was looking in the window, which was difficult because I had it on the second floor, you know, how somebody could be looking in the window, but I felt paranoid. Then I sat for meditation, and I realized that in my peripheral consciousness here, there are all these murky elements, like
Yeah, pick them up.
cloudy,
Yeah.
gooky, slimy.
Yeah.
And so I just took my consciousness like a little light, and I just spiraled it around, and I just touched everyone. And as I touched everyone in my peripheral vision, they turned into rainbows and flowers.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know, I realized that's the way you can clear.
Yeah, you picked that up from her.
And then when my husband was, you know, often when people would dump stuff,
Yeah.
you know, and I would have to do that, you know, and just touch, just clear it.
That's a good one.
It's
Then
just
another one, you
conscious.
could like look at them and then just run your finger up your forehead.
Yeah, it's like a beam of light.
Yeah, no, I got that
You
technique. This,
project it and you just swing it around and touch all those
Like-
dark, oily, murky elements, and they're transformed into rainbows and flowers and everything.
I got that technique. Another technique that's very similar is you can just notice them and just take your finger and run up your forehead and it clears them. So, see, there's something to that. Once you notice it and create some interruption or some alternate frequency, it'll start moving them. Yeah, but that's very astute of you to pick up by, oh, I picked up this, maybe I picked something up. Yeah. And so when you notice something like that come in, likely you picked something up from somebody, you actually, sometimes just tracking it back to, well, I feel really lousy, my stomach's upset. You track it back to, oh, it's after I talked to so-and-so. And sometimes just remembering it will clear it. So it's great stuff. Once you get how it works. It's very clear that you know, at some point, maybe with our kids, we said, this book has all blank pages, and what you have to do with this is you have to write your operating manual. You know, you buy a computer, you get an operating manual. You can get an operating manual. And, well, they did. Some people, you know, like the Upanishads in the Bible, and they're like operating manuals. You have to write your own operating manual. There's something in the task of doing that's as important to your evolution. So I've got to get to know how this one works and what my operating manual is. So that you can sit there and do your reading life, I can do this. You know, it's just, we have our operating manual. It's really cool. Anything else? I have another process I want to do with meditation that's a complement to this one we just did, but sometimes people don't want to do anything after I do this next one. I'm trying to see what, yeah.
I've just been so present with the bubble behind you and the word spiritual authority and even the word to say relevance of that is just not even, words don't describe. And so that the single person that's right immediately behind you from where I'm looking at it keeps on becoming we.
Keeps doing what?
On becoming we.
We.
W-E.
Yeah.
Like multiple people. And so that there is like almost like a mandala and a field, like even for this room. And then that's where the spiritual authority comes in. And the responsibility and the power of that, the power of the love, and the power of the loving power of responsibility. Anyway. So that picture just keeps on going like this, travel across the room.
Has anybody heard of Ho'oponopono? Yeah, it's very, very powerful. I took this class with Dr. Hugh Lannon, very sweet man, and it's a teaching that came out of the Hawaiian teaching. It essentially means resolution to living love. which is nice in itself. It just feels good to say it. But that perspective is that whatever happens in your world, in your awareness, it's your, I'm going to say it, it's your fault. That's going to sound funny at first, but there's a test. See, if you have trouble with that, see, the ego takes things like that. It does shame and blame. So anytime you're doing shame and blame, you're knowing you're dealing with half a deck. See, because that's not the level of authority or responsibility you're talking about. It's this higher self, this I am self. You know? So that's the level it works at. And this essential thing here is, if it happens in your world, it's a reflection back of something that's unresolved inside of you. So this hands back a great power that means that, oh, we have trouble changing things out there, but we can change them in here. That really makes a difference. So the reflection back inside. So the way you work with it is you work with God bless you, I love you, and I forgive myself, with the image of that inside of you. So the person reminds you of something you're here to clear up. And as you clear up, it changes your reality. So it's changing your consciousness. So in other words, by changing how you are inside, it changes how the universe sees you and the way it is. He looks at it as there's not negative people, there's negative information. So if somebody's doing something, it's because of negative information for informing that, and the source of that is in you, so you can clean it up inside you. So you work with it that way. So you can use their image to reflect inside you and clean it up in here. It's not to make something happen out there, but it's to change the reality in terms of what you're creating, promoting, or allowing in your life. An example he gives of this is that, well, so many hands went up, I'm probably telling you, preaching to the choir here, but he tells this story of when he's a psychologist. He's a Chinese Hawaiian, studied with Morna Simeon, and that's how he developed this particular approach. It's easy to find online, but he got a job as a psychologist at this Institute for the Mentally Insane. That's like crazy people that do bad things, get in trouble for it. So they were pretty desperate because they kept burning out psychologists, because psychologists kept trying to remedy their situation, and it's impossible. But what he did was just take the list of people, and he would do this approach. He would go at one name and say, please, I'm so sorry, please forgive me, and I love you, as if it's inside of him, that he's the cause. And I forgive myself. And I don't know if he said this, but this is what I say when I do it. Or I forgive myself for this lifetime and all the others where I perpetuated this kind of consciousness. So I carry it in my own way. But he'd do this, and he kept going down the list every day, and he never, I think he just stayed at home and did it. And then after a while, the absenteeism in the institution dropped off. And then the number of people I had to restrain got less. And then after a while, people started getting over their symptoms. And that was just by his focus, persistent, working with that's a reflection of me inside, I'll clear it up inside of me and transform it into loving. And what he calls it is getting to 0 point, another that place where we're nothing. And all that means is we're not ego. When we're in a nothing place, we're not ego. And in that place, you can live out the inspiration of life. So it's a fascinating approach. It's very powerful if you kind of get it. If you're always looking, taking your temperature though, and looking at the news and saying, well, the world didn't change yet, it must not be working. It takes persistence. My son left home when he was 15. Both of them did, actually. They're very angry at me. So I started doing this, and about 10 years later, they got back in touch, so it takes a while. And when my wife asked them why they were so angry at me, they couldn't remember. because they erased the memory, erased the frequency. They couldn't remember, they could only remember the loving instead of the other aspects. So also do that. And he one of the guidelines he gave me was, or gave us was that, being a therapist is a great occupation. Because people come remind you of the stuff you haven't cleared up yet inside yourself, and then they pay you. So any of you as therapists, that's the advantage of that. Yeah. So this final exercise, I call it my color breathing meditation. And I'll go slow on this one because it's just fun. And maybe you have time to spend with colors. So it's based on this diagram. And it has to do with bringing the colors in a certain way and activating them. So let's have you close your eyes. I mean, you're okay with it. You want to do a meditation? Yeah. And I always like to start my meditations with a prayer asking for the presence of the Holy Spirit for the highest good of each person here, keeping in mind their destinies. So just become aware of your space, your body in your space. I like to imagine a column of light that comes down to the top of your head, out to your coccyx, into the center of the earth. And just, even just the intention to see it will do it. So if you're having trouble visualizing or imagine that, just pretend like you can. It'll work. So is this column of light that goes to the center of your body. Just put your attention into that. Then I'd like you to now also attend to your breathing. Breathing out, long, slow, breath in, breath out. The in-breath, just imagine that this light, this love comes up from the highest place you can imagine, in the deepest place within the earth. You breathe in, that comes up into your heart. You hold your breath for a moment. And you breathe out, and that goes out through your cells of your body into your space. And so as you're doing this, just when you reach up, imagine the highest heaven you can imagine. And also when you breathe in, just imagine you go deep into the loving consciousness of the planet. Maybe perhaps even out into the galaxy. So you're breathing in, the energy comes up into your heart. You breathe out, it goes out through your cells into your space. So just practice that for a few rounds. Now as you breathe all the way in, you draw that energy into your heart. Just hold your breath for a moment and listen. Then when you're ready, just breathe it out through your body into your space. When your breath is all the way out, just hold for a moment, listen at the out breath. Practice that. Breathing in, bringing the light from above, below into your heart. Hold it. Breathing out through yourselves into your space, holding. And on the next convenient cycle, just breathe the color red. Breathe in the color red in the same way that we're just practicing. And breathe it out the same way we're just practicing. Take your time breathing in and out very slowly. And as you do, just be aware of where that energy goes when you breathe it in and breathe it out. It may go to some part of your body, it may go to some thought. It may bring something to your awareness that releases. Just invite that. Not to manage all that, just invite it. Now in the next convenient time, just start breathing orange in the same way. And then move to yellow. Breathing in the yellow, breathing out the yellow. Just being aware of the movement of the energy, movement of the yellow. And just shift gradually now to green. Then blue. Very gently move to indigo. Then purple. Just breathing in the purple into your heart. Hold. And breathe it out in your space. Through every cell of your body. And just very gently move to the silver, breathing in the silver, from above and below, through your body, out into space. gold. And turquoise. And white. Just breathe in the white from above and below, into your heart, into your space. And move to colorless or translucence, invisible. Just breathe in the clear energy from above and below. Breathe it into your heart. And breathe it out to the cells of your body, into your space. And just let go for a moment. Now that you're tracking that rhythm, just see where it takes you. If you notice, the energy now is breathing you. Comes in, breathes out. And something larger is breathing you. And just stay with that as long as you like, and then begin focusing out into the room. And when you're ready, open your eyes. So, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Yeah.
Thank you.
can go away now.
I'll be all right.
Yeah.